So I guess the key messages coming through so far is that we are trying to continue the learning for the students. I know it's challenging. We're learning things very fast, we're doing things in a different way. And we've got students, some are at school, some are at home. But, you know, we need to make it clear to the students that we are continuing. The learning is going to continue, the assessment is going to continue. And at this stage too, the exams will go ahead. So we're charging ahead. And again, I also thank you again for your ongoing commitment to the students and being flexible in how we're going about this. There's a lot of support, and I know some of you made the most of it. Being on this is the first one. If there's a need for further Zoom, we can do that as well. We have got the Plato social page, so do keep an eye out on that. If you're doing something that's really working, then you know you could share that on there, or if you want to ask a question about what someone else doing, please you know, put that on there too, and hopefully others will respond to that. Just mute again. Someone has just asked how they put up their hand. I'm just checking. You should have an option to unmute, and then so under, if you've clicked on the manage participants, you should see everyone's list there, and you should have an option to unmute or to raise your hand. So just check, you might just want to play with that, see if you can do that for a second. Let me know if there's any issues with that. Okay. Is everyone able to see where to raise your hand to ask a question? No raising hands. Okay. I don't know why we don't have that option. Okay, so yeah, so you can do it through the reactions icon at the bottom. I'm not sure why we don't seem to have that option to be able to, let me just get rid of the chat. To raise your hand in the right hand column, but that's okay. We'll use the reactions. You can put your hand up there. So yeah, in reactions, you can pop your hand up. Great. Okay. All right, a couple of other things before we get started. Sorry, I'm just getting this all up. Okay, a couple of other things. At this stage, it is about using the flexibilities that we've got. There's no intentions currently to change anything within the subject outline requirements. So, but the flexibilities, you know, include that you can change the topics that you teach. You might change the focus of your investigation because you've changed things around. You can change the order of the topics, but just as currently, there's nothing that can be changed as far as the requirements of the subject outline, like the weightings of assessment tasks, removing the requirement to have a certain number of SATs and so forth, without further direction from the SACE board. So at this stage, okay, we don't know what's going to happen, so we do need to keep flexible in that regard. If we do get to a point where we're struggling to meet the subject requirements with the flexibilities, then the SACE board will decide and communicate those changes to everybody once they've had the discussion about making sure that it's fair for every student. And then we will also assure that we can do some comparability of all the evidence that students have presented when it comes to quality assurance, moderation, and so forth. I think so far, as long as we can learn these different ways of continuing the learning and doing the assessments, then we will be able to charge ahead. One of the other subjects I'm managing is outdoor ed, which is a real challenge when they're supposed to be out on excursions in the field, immersing themselves in natural environments. So that's one where we have had to make some changes to some of the specific features and things like that. But hopefully so far we won't need to get to that. So what does this all mean for general maths? Students do need to keep learning the 5 topics, including the 3 exam topics. But as I said, the order that you teach them might change. The ones that you actually decide to do might change. You might split them up and how you teach them. You might start and then pick it up again a bit later. The weightings need to stay the same for the assessment types, but again, you've got flexibility within the each assessment type of how you might weight those. The tricky one, and I know it's already coming up in the chat, is about that the SATs still need to be supervised tasks. We might be doing that differently. We might be doing some, doing this remotely, and we will have a chance to chat about that later, because I know that is a bit of an issue for some, and it's certainly something that we may not have done before. So the SATs still need to include at least 1 from each of the non-examined topics, and still have one of those SATs with either no calculator or notes. Again, as I said, at this stage, the exam is going ahead as per usual, and we need to cover all the specific features that are there at the moment. So hopefully people are able to see that that's a possibility with what we're doing so far. Okay. Supervised tasks, what I might do is just go through the general ideas around that first, and then we might have an opportunity to share some ideas for how people are managing that, how people plan to. There's no one solution, but some people might have some great ideas to share. So at this stage, on the teacher portal, there's already some ideas about how this could be done. So it could be that you've got students in the classroom, you've got some at home, we might have them all at home next term. I don't know if we've heard that decision yet, but that there is a cover sheet that students sign to verify that their work is completed according to the specified conditions. We need to stress to the students that this is a binding and information and an important document. It's like a stat deck. So please say that it is important that this is happening. They can have someone else sign that for them, but I know, and it's come up again in the chat, that not all parents, some parents are out working, and so that may not be possible. So again, it comes back to the student's integrity and trusting their academic honesty in this. It doesn't have to be a parent, it could be some other age appropriate person. But again, we're coming back to some sort of declaration like students would do, I guess, in open access college and other remote learning opportunities. There is, some people are using, online assessment. Okay, some questions coming through. I'll just finish this bit and then, yeah, we'll talk about that. I mean, and again, this, remember, is an issue that we're not dealing with just in the SACE, it's around the world. All the schools are dealing with this who've gone online. So there's all sorts of lots of information coming about some good ways to do it. Some, can use Zoom to monitor their students if you wanted to do that, or Teams as well. A discussion with the students about their understanding, for example, or some online assessment if that's possible. Probably not quite so possible in the maths. But, we do have to develop a high trust environment for these, make sure that they understand that this declaration that they sign is like a stat deck. It's binding and important. So I guess that's the general. I'm quite happy now if I put it up to people to make comments. If you could put up your hand. I know Olivia, I'll go first. Johansson, I think you had your hand up. I'll just do a check through to see if anyone else has got their hand up to answer questions. Okay, so I also have Vinda and Sophia. So if we start with Olivia, if you wanted to unmute and ask your question.
So I was just realising something's going on here.
Sorry, can't hear you very well, Olivia. Okay. Sophia, did you have a question?
Yeah, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can.
Okay. My question is, do we still need to have at least 5 sets, or is that possible that we can delete one, like just not do 1 set?
At this stage, we're still sticking with the subject requirements. So
Right.
so we will do them all. If down the track, you know, it's evident that there is issues with trying to complete, then that's when we might look at doing that. So at this stage, we charge ahead with 5. You might, I know some people have rearranged topics and are doing, say, the exam ones first instead of the other way around. But yes, at this stage, still 5.
Okay. My other question is, because our school's starting doing online learning since week 9. So therefore, I wouldn't have my opportunity to supervise my students in class, and then therefore I cancelled. So our maths department make a decision that we cancelled our, you know, the actual test, and we did like a formative assessment, like a short quiz. So the second part of the matrices. So I'm wondering, is that so can I submit that as one of the sets, or I have to do another test, the proper test for it?
I guess it depends on how much you were able to fully assess that in that quiz that you did.
Yeah.
Again, you're going to have to, you know, make a decision about, you know, did you meet enough of those specific features, or whether you do just treat that as a formative one and then do another one.
A summative one later.
Yeah, more online.
Because the matrices is non-exam topic, and I did a investigation on the first part, the dominant and the S matrices, but then I make a formative quiz for the transition matrix only. So therefore, there are formative assessments only for transition matrix. It's short, but yeah.
So I think, you know, at this stage, there is still that requirement that, you know, each of the non-examined subjects are part of that, you know, at least 1 SAT. So yes, it might you might need to do another one. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Kate Shepherd, you've got your hand up. You've got a question.
I think my question's more or less been answered with Sophia's second question. I told my students that we were encouraged at my school to take out a SAT, and I took out the modelling with matrices SAT. So just to confirm, I would need to do that SAT with my students.
Yes, at this stage, again, you know, down the track, if you know, it's become apparent that with all sorts of difficulties and that we do drop one, we could. So whether you decide to leave it till later or get that out the way, I guess is up to you. But yes, I guess still currently we do need to still have that, and moderation would look very much like it does at the moment at this stage. Again, it's very unknown where we're going, but yes, if we could, as per the information that's been on the SACE website, just continue as normal, but obviously doing it in different ways. And I know this is going to put some, you know, pressure on students if we've had some delays, and obviously we're losing some weeks but yes, just as best you can at this stage to try and cover off those sort of requirements. Okay, Frank, you've got a question?
Oh, yes, I have. Maths Methods has one investigation. Is that because all their topics are examined?
So Maths Methods, did you say?
Yeah, that has one investigation. We've got
That's
two.
right, yes. Yeah, so because all of the topics are in the exam. Yeah, that's one of the reasons, yeah. And I guess the cohort of the students as well.
Thank you.
Christina?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you
Yes.
now.
Well, it's more a suggestion, confirming whether that suggestion can be done or that can be done. I'm planning to do the skill and application task on statistics topics as a separate booklet on the trial exam close to the exam, the one that we do at the end of the year, which I'm probably assuming that the situation will be more normal and we will have students here at the school. So my suggestion is that including that skill and application task as a separate booklet in the trial exam that we do at the end of the year, and give the students while they are remotely learning practice tests, and I will mark that practice test for the students to know where they are up to, but not supervised, because not all the students here have the option to have a camera and do the test in front of me or in front of someone that supervised them. So is that a valid option?
Does anyone else want to answer that question? What they feel?
Lisa, I'm happy to talk to that.
Thanks, Rihanna.
I just think, Christina, that during moderation, it's obvious students who have completed assessment under examination conditions often do worse in those assessment items. So I don't always know that that's an advantage to the student. I also think that you mentioned that you were considering doing that for was that for matrices?
No, statistics.
For statistics. Now that might work for you because it's an examinable topic. So having them work towards the goal of doing a test late, I think is fine. But if it was a non-examinable topic, I think it's not worth their while to be revising that content right before the exam. But for statistics, that might work for you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
I think next I had a question from Kathy Best.
Hi, my question is about if we have kids do a test at home and get the declaration form signed by themselves or their parents, if we then go on and have a discussion with them to see what their understanding is, do we have to record that discussion, or is that taken as fair enough? If we've decided that they have shown understanding through the discussion.
It wouldn't have to be recorded. No, I think that that's really just for your own benefit to think that, yes, I believe that this is, has been done under the conditions of the assessment. Whether you record it, I guess, is up to you or not, but I wouldn't think that would need to be evidence provided at moderation. We again rely on your judgment about the students' integrity in the assessment.
No worries. Thank you.
Jeff, you had a question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Right. If you later on choose to drop one SAT, it will be a huge disadvantage to my students because we've already done matrices and linear relationships, and we've done a SAT on each. And if somebody else has suddenly decided, I'll do the examinable topics first, if you drop, for example, linear relationships, and they do their investigation on 2 other topics, that means they've only got to study 80% of the course, and we've done 100% of the course. So I think there's a huge spanner in the works there.
Yes, again, you know, we're going to need to be flexible and try and make it as fair as possible for every student under this. This is the same as what we're dealing with in Outdoor Ed. There have been people who've been able to go out in the field already before this happened. Some may never get out there. So we would try and make it as fair as possible and to deal with this as best we can at moderation, but knowing that there are going to be those sorts of challenges. It's not going to be, you know, obviously as normal as it has been in the past. So we'd have to deal with those sort of situations and again rely on your teacher judgment as about maybe if you choose the 5 and so forth. So not necessarily at a disadvantage, but
well, just it would be a disadvantage, because if somebody's left linear relationships till last, they're going to have and that SAT is dropped, they will have an extra 6 weeks to work on the 3 topics that are in the exam, because they won't have to touch that topic at all for the year.
Yeah,
they've only got, go on, sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah, again, we sort of don't know what we're dealing with at this stage, but again, we just have to look at the situation, look at where everyone's at, and try and do it the best we can. I don't have an exact answer to that. We don't even know if it's going to happen, and so forth. So we would just have to see how we go at that time and where people are at and what's the best way forward. So,
Thanks.
okay. Okay. Now I've got someone with their hand up, but I don't have a name. Is it MS7603? Yeah, just unmute. I still can't hear you at the moment. Try talking now.
Now?
Yes.
Hi, Lisa. It's Manuel Spiro speaking.
Oh, hi, Manuel. How are you?
Good, thanks. Yourself?
Good.
My question is, in terms of the rigour of the final exam, is that still going to be maintained as what's done in previous years?
Yes, the exam is as it currently is. It's you know being written now and would be the same, and so I guess that supports that that assumption that the students are entitled to continue with the learning, and that's what we are trying to support each other to do, is to continue that learning and work towards normal assessment and normal exam at this stage. So the flexibilities are around how you might rearrange things as we go through.
The other question is, Lisa, it's in relation to cut-off scores at the end of the year. If SACE feels or they can see that the rig is not there like it has been in past years, they will adjust cut-off scores?
Yes, again, we'd have to see what happens at the end of the year and gather people's ideas on what difficulties they had once we look back on all of this. But yes, the SACE board and Martin Westwell are saying that we will assure that there'll be fairness at moderation and things will be taken into account. Again, I keep coming back to Outdoor Ed, but it's the same, where the opportunities are not going to be the same for everyone, and we're still going to just have to deal with that at moderation.
Okay.
And that would be, so it would be quite a unique situation with moderation this year if given the whole situation. Yeah.
Yep. Okay then. Thank you.
Okay. Lee 10.
Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah,
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to ask one question regarding my student. I got 2 or 3 students. I'm still cannot connecting with them on the internet. So I have trouble. I have sense of understanding. They might have no internet or laptop at home.
Mm.
And they did one test, and they did a very good job. It's A grade, but at this stage, they are almost 3 or 4 weeks behind. Emailed all the parents as well as the students. I have not get any responding. So can I actually apply any special provision for them?
Again, I guess special provisions, I guess it depends on the situation. You know, if they, I guess firstly it's about trying to get around the situation that you've got, and obviously getting in contact with those students and letting them know that, you know, the course hasn't stopped because of this, you're going ahead with it. But, and I know someone again had mentioned that there are students without internet, but most of them have got phones. I don't know if that is an option. Sometimes they can ask for, in this situation, can ask for more data to be able to access that. Special provisions, I guess, is for if it is something that is beyond their control, but we're still trying to do the assessment. We're just trying to be a bit more flexible with the assessment, or maybe in that sort of situation, if it's something completely beyond their control as far as being able to access the assessment, there could be a case for special provisions. So that might be something that you've got to talk to your SACE coordinator about, and try and resolve that situation first so that they can try and continue with the learning. So maybe that's something that we need to chat about a bit later, about how to support those in that situation.
Yeah, one of the students, which their relative actually got infected by the coronavirus. So that's why his relative has been isolated, and he got very sick, but fortunately he has not. He was diagnosed. He has not diagnosed for infection. So that's why my school is not closed at this stage. But
Wow.
Another student I have been informed by parents has been isolated.
Yes. So again, I guess we've got students in all sorts of different situations, whether their parents just don't want them to go to school, but certainly if they are sick themselves, then normal special provisions comes into place. And so there is scope in that sort of situation where they might have one less assessment, for example, if they have been actually sick. If they've made a decision to not come to school, then obviously that's what this week is about, is trying to set up options so that we can continue the learning for those students at home as best we can, like they're doing around the world. So special provisions is for, as per usual, for a situation where the students are under, there is no way that they can continue as normal to access the assessment as best they can. So that could certainly be a situation where special provisions is in place. As far as in general with this whole situation, we are trying to not put a blanket special provisions on everything. As I said, it would be a situation where we make a decision to change something if we need to. But yes, if there are students who are sick, or if they're caring for a parent, it's something about their situation, then yes, for those individuals, then special provisions would be, they'd be eligible for that.
Yeah, thank you. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. I just thought I would share rather than ask a question. I'm at Salisbury High School, so quite a disadvantaged area. And we've had our kids probably not here for, say, 3 weeks. I've been dealing with them online. And I got in contact with Deanna, and after a conversation with Deanna, I felt a lot better about the test situation. So I thought I would share. Basically what I discussed with her was I have my paper test like I would normally have, and I am going to allocate a specific time to the students when the test is meant to be administered. I'm giving the kids the option they can come in. I'll probably have 2 that come in. Otherwise, they will do it from home. And I'm given lots of options. So some kids might print it and write on it and scan it and send it back. Other kids might do it on a piece of paper and take photos and send it back to me. Others might try and do it on the document and send it back to me. All of those things Deanna said was fine. This is about trying to support the kids and do the best in the situation that we can. My topic I've got is matrices. That's why I was concerned about kids trying to do it online electronically. I thought that would take ages. So I think we've got to keep in mind that, you know, we're trying to support the kids and we've got to trust people, you know, like, I don't think that, I mean, I'm from the north and I don't think my kids are going to cheat, to be honest. I really don't. I think, you know, they just want to do the best they can as well. So I think we've all just got to try our best and be happy with that.
Yes, thanks, Rebecca. That's good. And so, yeah, very welcome for any other ideas. I know there's some coming through the chat, which I've sort of got behind on because I'm trying to track who's got hands up. But again, as I said, that'll be captured and there's some ideas there and some sharing of what's happening. So that'll be available later. Peter, I've got your hand up.
Hi, Lisa, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
And Rebecca, thanks for that, because you've a bit of a head start on where I was going with this. If we're committing to doing 5 tests, I think that largely that's the biggest challenge we've got, is how can we make sure that our students are doing the tests and getting them back and it's all legitimate. And Rebecca's got a process there. I'm sure other people have got things that work really well as well. Can we just have 3 or 4 common approaches for students getting tests that we can all use, rather than everyone making up their own where they are? If we just had 2 or 3 different common approaches, they might not work for everybody, but at least we've got something to start with, rather than everyone make up their own.
Yes, we had a discussion about this morning actually, but there isn't one solution to it because everyone's situation is different as well. You know, some with better internet than others and so forth. So there is the information on the COVID-19 portal that does outline some, but I don't know, I don't know if that's the solution that we say this is the way you have to go, because everyone's situation is different. Some people might have students in the class, some may not. Some, you know, might have a small group, some might have a class of 30. So I think it's really what does work for your students. And then, you know, the decision about that is, that you're satisfied that that's being done is sort of your decision. And then at moderation, we won't even look at that, you know, whether, unless there is an actual breach of rules that we won't be sort of considering, we would be assuming that what we see has been done under the right conditions. So, I don't know if there's, I mean, we can, you know, add some ideas into the chat if you think there is some things that are working, but I still think we probably need to leave it up to each individual. Rebecca, you've still got your hand up. Is that continuing or another question?
No, sorry, I didn't mean to have it up again. I apologise.
No problem. So maybe this is the chance to talk about some, and I know there's some in the chat, but I look up and there's 47 new messages, so I haven't been able to keep a track of what's happening there. But is there, we've still got about 20 minutes. Is there anything else people want to share that they think is working for them and would be a great idea to share with others about how they are maybe rearranging their assessments, or how they are supervising, or any other subject specific, how they're overcoming any other barriers or concerns? No, can't see any other ideas. Does anyone want to add anything else, or do you think, have we covered everything? Rihanna or anyone want to add anything? Rebecca?
Yeah, I've got a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So my question is more to do with investigations. We're supposed to be verifying how our that our students, it's their own work. And I actually ended up with the week off when my students started their investigation. And then this week we don't have them at school. So I haven't seen any of their work firsthand. So I guess my question is, with the verification for something like that, where do we stand?
Okay, I've got some ideas. Has anyone else got ideas on how they may supervise or continue that supervision of investigations? Jeff, is your hand up? Have you got?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. I was going to give people, maybe some newer teachers, a bit of general advice. When it comes to drafting students' work, there's a misconception with a lot of people that you can only draft it once. You can draft it many times as long as you're not drafting the same piece over and over again. This will assist in the verification. So with my students, for example, I'll ask them to write out an introduction with a prediction, and I want to see that first as a first draft. What it means is I can keep track of what they're doing as they're going along, and also if somebody's going astray, they're writing way too much or way too little, or there's no interpretation, I can let them know early on in the piece. So I'll divide my investigation up to maybe an introduction, a couple of routine sections and so on. And at each stage, I want to see a draft of where they are. Now that prevents, it prevents somebody leaving it to the end and going digging the hole up from somewhere else and cheating. It also, I think, gives them a better idea what's going on as we're going along with that. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. There was also hands up for Sean and then Isaac.
Yep, I guess I was going to say something that I've done in previous years, and I still continue to do this year, is I actually deliberately make my investigations so every calculation, all that they have to do is unique and is unique every single year and between each student. So it's not really possible for them to copy off each other or from somewhere else because it's unique, but that's because I've deliberately made them to be that way. So that's one possible way.
Yeah, thank you. And Isaac?
Yeah, hi, thank you. I thought I'd just jump in. We've been talking a lot about SATs today and yesterday at my site, and something we're discussing is something that I know that ASMS has already been doing in the past, possibly a little bit controversial, but having a unseen question and presenting that to students and then giving them some time to work on that and then present their solution in an interview type format. And so that does show, with the appropriate selection of questions, can show all those same performance standards that we're seeing from a test when it's a SAT, but given our current conditions, might help some people overcome the concerns that they have around validity of tests.
Great, thank you. And again, I guess we're trying to do this, you know, potentially all online too. Is there anything anyone wants to share about how they'll continue to do this online, or how they're working online? Are they using Zoom? Are you using Teams? Anyone want to jump in?
Hello.
Hello.
It's Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
So we've been teaching remotely for a little while because lots of our students are obviously back in the country. They were boarders, and we've been using Teams. So we try not to do it every single lesson, but we tell them before, like on a Friday, let's dial in. Some have enough internet capacity to be able to watch the videos. I share my screen. We do a screencast. But, you know, I think more so than actually when they're in a physical classroom, they're actually all there waiting to get online because they're really keen for that human connection as well.
Great. Yeah. Is anyone else using Teams or Zoom, this sort of forum for either assessment or for supervision of investigations?
Hi, Lisa. I can speak to that one.
Thanks, Rachel.
So what I do is I make some supporting videos through an Explain Everything app that's available. And then students watch that information before they actually come to the online session, so they've seen some examples of that work. I'm using Microsoft Teams as well, and I use the iPad. I connect an iPad to that to actually be able to write like I would in a whiteboard, but also I keep a video track as well going at the same time so that I can see those facial expressions from students. And we've tested that, so I had some students in class and some students at home studying particularly this last week, and it's actually been good to be able to test it with the students rather than hitting next term and having to start with probably a bit of unknowledge about whether or not students can actually connect. So that could be hard for some people trying to work that out next term.
Great, thank you, Rachel. That's, again, and I'm just looking at the chat too, a lot of people are using Zoom, Google Classroom, Teams, again, all these new ways of doing things, which I think we'll probably be continuing to do into the future now that we've started these sorts of things. It certainly adds some flexibility. Just seeing if there's any other questions there. Does anyone have any further questions that they want to ask of either the whole group or me? I can't see any hands up.
Hi, Lisa.
Hello, Michael.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
I thought I'd just chime in with what some of my plans are. I've started to put some of my short instructional videos for students up on YouTube. And yes, I'm trying to make those quite short, but if anyone else is doing it as well, would love to know, so not having to reinvent the wheel. But yeah, I'm trying to put those up publicly as well so others can use it as well. Yeah, so I'm trying to make those sort of short, 5 to 10 minutes, so that the students can watch them and sort of learn from them that way. So that's been yeah, my plan in moving forward at the moment.
Fantastic, that's good. I think it's a great idea too, if you know, if instead of everyone doing the same thing, maybe you can start sharing some little lessons that so not everyone's doing the same. Would be a great idea if people are willing to do that. And Plato Social could be a forum for that as well. Yeah, please continue to share. Sean, you had a hand up?
Yeah, I just thought I'd let everyone know that if they want some resources, I have a website I can put into the chat that I made that has a lot of learning videos that can be very useful, that breaks down topic by topic and in multiple year levels as well, not just year 12.
Did you say you put that in the chat?
I will.
You will? Okay, great. Yeah. And so then if that's in the chat, I mean, either people can try and have a look at that, or it'll be online too. So we can come back to that and you can check what we've got. Oh, it's already up there now. Yeah, thank you. Okay. I've got Kay Candy.
Oh, hello. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
To ask because our school has decided that we'll be running 2 sessions of like half an hour each per week. So what are other schools doing? So are they running like a normal timetable, or are they doing like basically presenting once a week or twice a week? So how are they going?
Anyone want to share that or put that onto the chat? I'm getting quite a few there. Regular timetable, normal timetable, live video once a week, normal timetable with Zoom. So yeah, so hopefully you're getting lots of responses there about how people are going about it. So again, I think it is something that's, you know, individual to each school and each teacher about what works best with them, what works best with their students. So again, you know, it's showing the flexibility that we've had to put in place, which is fantastic. So I think too, you know, given that it's a little unknown, I think one suggestion that came from some of the other subjects too was that with your learning assessment plan, that could change throughout the year as we go too. So maybe don't finalise your learning and assessment plan until later down the track when you know what you have been able to do and what you haven't been able to do. So that was just a bit of advice there too. Now, anyone else? Sean, did you have another comment, or was your hand up from before?
Sorry, hand up from before.
No problem. Okay. All right, is there anything else anyone wants to add before we sign off?
I've got my hand up there, Lisa.
Oh yes, Heidi, thank you.
I don't know if it's relevant. I put it on the chat before and I had a few responses, but I'm getting moderated for stage 1 general. And obviously with a shorter time frame, I'm a bit more concerned about that than I am with catching up with year 12s. Do you know if there's going to be any leniency there, or would we just amend our lap and maybe cover less subtopics? Or
I believe that there's been a decision about that they're delaying moderation till semester 2. So, but you might want to check that with your SACE coordinators, because they had SACE coordinator meeting, I think, like a Zoom meeting. It might have been this morning or yesterday, and I'm sure that was discussed.
Okay, all right, thank you.
That's okay. Now, I had another hand up somewhere. I saw Anna, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I did. One of the things that you need to understand about these kids is that they're spending a hell of a lot of time in front of the computer screen. And so these Zoom sessions that we've been operating are short Zoom sessions. But what is really important for these kids is that they've got some directive. And so what we have done is that at the start of every week, we release a to-do list that outlines, because at University Senior College, we operate under a lecture and tutorials type of system. So we break it up into a lecture, and this is the content that we will cover in the lecture. And Microsoft PowerPoint enables you to record over your PowerPoint. So you're actually giving your lesson. Zoom is fantastic because you can link your iPad to Zoom and they can actually see you do the questions in that context. But in the tutorial, the recommendation is that, you know, you break your class into smaller groups and set them into seeing them in those smaller groups rather than in the large group. And then you can actually get around to each of the students in that. So just short sessions are much better for these kids than thinking that you could do a 90-minute tutorial or a 90-minute double lesson with them. It's far too much for them to be able to cope with.
Great, thank you, Anna. Yeah, again, food for thought on supporting our students to do things a little bit differently. I know I'm feeling the same most of the time. I'm in the office today, but working from home and so much more sitting just for every meeting. You don't get up and move, and yes, I think we'll all be feeling that as well. So there is some things in the chat about Zoom and not being able to use Zoom. I know they're looking at that as well because there was some security issues around that. I know that's still being discussed, and there's certainly rules about one-on-one with Zoom with students, but I think they're looking to overcome that. Although I do know that the business owner of Zoom made $4 billion in the last 3 months, so I think we're in the wrong industry there. Okay, is there anything else? We've got about 7 minutes if anyone else wants to add anything. Just check for any more hands up or speak up. Okay. I think we'll finish up there, and keep an eye out on the website and also the Plato social site for any updates, for any for the recording of this if you wanted to look over, and also look over the chat. I'll summarise that up there as well. So thank you everyone for contributing, and thank you for continuing to support the students. You're doing a brilliant job. Hang in there, have a bit of a break over the holidays, and hopefully we'll be ploughing along next term again. Not quite as usual, but as best we can. Thank you everyone.